Hello and welcome to week 6 of the NFL season on the Fantasy Football Touchback podcast. I am Chris, that is Megan, and let's go ahead and get on with it. Maybe. There we go.
Great job, Chris.
It's
We did pretty good with our sleepers, locks, and traps last week. We were pretty good on most of them on the sleepers list. Spencer Rattler had an amazing game as predicted. Darren Waller also had an amazing game as predicted. Whitty Marks, Minnesota, pretty consistent. And I can't say it, Chris. The kicker for the New
Academy.
York Giants did not play. So great job on that sleeper pick, Chris.
He played. He just didn't
No.
do
He
much.
dressed. He dressed. Move on.
Fine, traps. Go.
Traps. Carson Wentz, he did okay. He was consistent with the years past. We're not sure if he's going to be the starter for much longer, but we'll see. Garrett Wilson, not great. He's just not doing well. Yeah. Did you see me just yeah, it's great. Garrett
It's a
Wilson
trap.
is also a good trap. He didn't do as well as he should have. It wasn't consistent with previous weeks. As far as Christian McCaffrey, Dalton Schultz, Matt Prater, all did fabulously. So definitely don't listen to Chris on traps next time,
So,
except maybe
yeah,
Garrett Wilson.
I have been real bad the last couple. So,
It's okay.
it's, it's but locks.
Lock. Jared Goff, fabulous game. Jalen Waddle, pretty fabulous game. Might have gotten injured, but we're not sure. Probably going to be pretty consistent as we move forward with Tyreek Hill being out for the rest of the season. So we'll see if he gets a little bit better. Jonathan Taylor, great as expected, pretty consistent with last week. Jake Ferguson, same thing, pretty consistent with last week, but had a phenomenal game. Andre Schmidt, uh, okay.
If I'm only
LA
wrong
Rams
about the kicker, I'll take it.
and the Rams.
I'm still shocked that I still would have picked it up 9 times out of 10. That the Rams
I
should
mean,
have. They should have
the game was
stopped.
great.
Once again, they should have stopped Christian McCaffrey. The man is the bane of my existence.
I know.
But they're not on a bye this week. But the Houston
They
Texans
are,
and Minnesota is. So we only have 2 teams. So
which is weird.
yeah, it's weird to only have 2 teams, but it is what it is. So
It is
TJ
weird.
Stroud is someone you're gonna have to worry about replacing as well as Carson Wentz. But the big name on Minnesota is obviously Justin Jefferson. So that's what those 2 people. At the end of this show, we will go ahead and show you our sleeper picks. But throughout the matchups, we'll tell you who we think is gonna start and go. But speaking of matchups, let's go ahead and get started after this. Make sure to like and subscribe now.
Just kidding. Chris, you forgot about injuries.
Oh my gosh, you're absolutely right. Let's go ahead and look at
As
just a
usual.
few of the injuries that we had from last week. Key injuries. Kyler Murray, he's coming up lame. We're not sure. He's questionable. You know how this is. Check the injuries, follow it throughout the week. Check out our Twitter account, our X account. If you don't have it, have X or Twitter because you don't want to be on there. I don't blame you. But 2, go ahead and come back to this video throughout the week. Check the comments, see if we have an updated injury report, which we will absolutely have at least up to game time on Sunday. But as for Marion Hampton, he's out for at least 5 weeks. It's kind of something that stuck up on him. They're hoping it's not going to lead to something major, but the Chargers are going to now be relying on their third string running back, Haskins, to go ahead and replace Hampton until he can at least get back. Calvin Austin, Pittsburgh wide receiver. You know how I am on him because he's such a speedster. They were hoping in Pittsburgh that he was going to go ahead and, after the bye week, be able to come back healthy. Unfortunately, he's still not there from what Tomlin has said in his press conferences. So we'll see. They're saying week to week he could play, but at this point, I just would imagine it being doubtful. And now, probably the most
You
devastating
had like
news:
2 seconds to talk about Spencer Trader because you spent so much time on the other ones.
Spencer
Quickly.
Strader's. I can't. The kicker that I've been championing all year ends up going out for the rest of the season, and it's devastating. They got Badgley in there, so that's a good replacement. But I feel for you, Spence. Sorry, buddy. Check out Cam Little. That's another person that I would go ahead and see. All right, now let's go ahead to those matchups as we expected.
If you're enjoying the podcast, make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you.
All right, let's go ahead and start with our first matchup of the week: the Eagles versus the Giants on Thursday Night Football. What we got, Meg?
Philadelphia is traveling to the Giants and Saquon Barkley with them. If you remember, Saquon Barkley used to play for the Giants and is very excited to play against his old team and do very well against them. Last year, he put up great numbers. This year, we expect him to put up the same, if not better, numbers and maybe a couple of touchdowns too, if his knee doesn't bug him like it was the end of the game last week. We also like A.J. Brown here. He's ranked 40th among receivers as far as fantasy points go. Not as great as his rookie year, but we really expect him to have a lot of touches against the New York Giants. As for the Giants side of the pond, the whatever, Jackson Dart did really well last week. He did get a little bit beat up, so we're hopeful that he is able to be consistent this week as well. And then newcomer Theo Johnson is becoming one of Jackson's favorite targets, so look to him to be a potential sleeper in the future. Chris, want to talk about Denver at New York Giants all the way out there in London?
We can definitely, but I don't think it's the Giants since you just talked about the Giants. It is the New
I
York
did it
Jets.
again.
You did
Oh
it
my
again.
gosh.
Sorry. Denver and the Jets. It's kind of like a good Elton John song. So you're gonna go ahead and have them playing in Tottenham Hotspur Stadium like we saw last week with the Minnesota game. Bo Nix starting to come into his own. I think that he's starting to feel it this year. He's kind of picking up now where he left off last year. So I expect to see better things out of him more weeks that we have to go. Cortland Sutton, he is the most consistent guy he has. Those are going to be your the two, and then Evan Ingram is starting to really ramp up his production. Justin Fields coming back, like we've always talked about, that dual threat quarterback. He is someone you're always going to have to worry about. But against this Denver defense, that is going to be very, very hard, I think. That again goes for Brees Hall. Garrett Wilson, he's been the workhorse, but it's something where, again, you are facing against the number one DB in the league. So I don't think the Jets are going to do much. So don't expect Jets players to actually highly produce. You're going to probably get something or other, something maybe out of Mason Taylor. He's been really productive as of late, but that's kind of it. These international games, they're always so weird, especially when you have two teams that are just getting there and have less than a week to actually prepare for it. Let's go ahead and head to Baltimore, Meg.
Yeah, absolutely. The LA Rams are going to Baltimore this week. Puka Nakua has been awesome for the Rams. Pretty much the only thing that they have going for them. You know, we expect him to do well, and hopefully everybody else comes up to the plate as to meet him. Baltimore is missing several key defensive players, and with Puka Nakua leading fantasy scoring this year so far, we expect to see great numbers. Devontae Adams, on the other hand, is really getting stuck with those defending teams. Those cornerbacks are just sticking to him like a magnet, and he's not able to do much production on that size. Baltimore does have the 11th best run defense, so we might be able to see a good game here. As for the Baltimore side, Derrick Henry, I think we've fallen off the Derrick Henry train. I don't know what happened to him this year, but he is not being the producer that we expected him to be. We also don't expect much from Zay Flowers. You know that the Baltimore offense used to be a team to really be scared of, and I'm not seeing it this year. So definitely expecting a lot more from the LA side than from the Baltimore side, but should be a pretty good game. Lamar Jackson is still really, really quiet on what actually happened to his hamstring or whatever else is going on over there. So we expect to see Cooper Rush start again, even though who knows.
Yeah, since they
Anything
haven't.
else on this, Chris? Or
Now
do you want to move
you
on
hit
to
on
the
the
offense?
Lamar Jackson part. About to say since they haven't really they haven't declared him out, but it doesn't seem like he's gonna play. So yeah,
Who knows?
who knows? Carolina,
Dallas?
Dallas, and Carolina. Carolina came back last week, and kind of pulled out a shocker. It was a good game for them. You have Rico Dowdle running for them last week, had over 200 yards running, but they say that Chuba Hubbard is going to be back this week, so keep an eye on that. But also, if he doesn't, or if there's any kind of setback, Rico Dowdle will be your number one person you want to be looking at because how well he did. Bryce Young's not passing the ball nearly as effective as he was, but again, a win can do wonders for the soul. Unfortunately, they're probably not going to get it against Dallas. Dak Prescott has been slinging it every single year or every single week, like he did during his first couple years before he had that gruesome leg injury, and even without CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens has shown you why he was an all-star for the Pittsburgh Steelers back in the day. Not to mention Jake Ferguson has gotten all of the targets from CeeDee Lamb fallout. So Brandon Aubrey, number one kicker, can't complain too much, but yeah. Ted McMillan, and I would go ahead and keep an eye on Chuba Hubbard's his injury. So that's all I have to say about the Panthers game. Let's head to Indianapolis, Meg.
Absolutely. The Indianapolis Colts, Daniel Jones is a far cry from the New York Giants, Daniel Jones. We kind of are holding our breath, seeing if the other shoe is going to drop with him as it did in New York, but so far so good. We really are seeing great production from him. He's the seventh highest scoring quarterback in fantasy this season. Jonathan Taylor also continues to deliver. We talk about how both of these guys need great coaching staffs behind them, great receivers for Daniel Jones, and a great quarterback for Jonathan Taylor. And the two of them are just bread and butter. Just as long as they're together, I think they're going to continue to do well. On the Arizona side, Cardinals offense hasn't found their footing yet. And I don't really expect them to, even if Kyler does end up playing. He's questionable right now. Hoping that he plays, but you never know. Uh, and then there's um, Marvin Harrison, who has his moments, and then you expect great things, and he doesn't do what you expected. So I expect Indianapolis to do better than the Arizona players this week, but there probably is still going to be some production on the Arizona side. Uh, Chris, do you want to talk about Seattle at Jacksonville?
Talk about the number one surprising team in the league, Jacksonville Jaguars. They're dishing out big games. They're dishing out big games against big opponents. Their win against Kansas City last week was surprising to nearly everybody. And Trevor Lawrence is starting to look like Trevor Lawrence that we expected. Travis Etienne is also doing what he's been expected to do. Brian Thomas is finally catching the ball, or at least being thrown to. Travis Hunter is showing us why he was such an elite player in college. And Cam Little is hitting those targets. So Jacksonville, they're starting to pick up the pace. They're starting to look like the team that we have never seen in Jacksonville, to be real honest with you. So against Seattle, it's going to be a fantastic game. Sam Darnold and JSN have been hooking up every single week, whereas you don't think they miss DK Metcalf whatsoever. Kenneth Walker is smashing it up the middle, and when he's not, it's Chardonnay who's also just going around catching the ball out of the midfield, and they have this kid Elijah Arroyo and at tight end. I like to call him Oreo, but Arroyo, I believe, is exactly how you're supposed to pronounce it. And he is every single week. Production is going up, up, and up. So honestly, and between these two teams, I don't think defenses are going to do much. So, and if you have somebody on their team, that is probably a good start in this small bye week. All right, off to Miami we go.
You know, I'm a little bit surprised that Miami is doing as terribly as they are. They have great players that just maybe they're doing the solo play thing and just wanting to be their own individual players and just not connecting or something. But you have Tua, you have Ashane, you have Waddle, Waller. Even without Tyreek Hill, Miami should have a good team, and they just here we are, week 6 almost, and we haven't seen anything that really makes sense from Miami. Darren Waller was a great sleeper pick last week, Chris. He secured all 5 of his targets for 78 yards, even though they lost to the Panthers last week.
I'll
And
take it.
uh, I know it's like you need uh like a tally of how well you do because you
Maybe
have
next
knocked
year.
that one out of the
Yeah,
park. Yeah,
next year
maybe.
we'll say how did we do?
Yeah, I think Waddle's gonna have a good game this or a good fantasy game. We'll say a fantasy game this week. Um, he had a couple of plays last week that he sat out with some sort of an injury, but came right back in and didn't seem any different. So hopefully, I haven't seen anything on the injury reports for him. So hopefully, he's doing fine. On the Chargers side, I'm really proud of you guys for sticking with Quentin Johnston on your fantasy leagues. He's rostered almost 90% of the time. Even though in the last couple of years he hasn't been consistent and hasn't been showing the production that we knew he could. Among receivers and fantasy points, he's 8th overall. And then he leads the Chargers in both receiving yards and touchdowns. Also on the Chargers, we have Keenan Allen. Hard to say that apparently. Keenan's a little bit more consistent than Quentin Johnson is, but both of them are putting up great numbers. Do you want to talk about Cleveland at Pittsburgh, Chris?
Yes, another quick game because you have two teams that are well, they hate each other to put just plainly. Cleveland, they had a incredible start to Dylan Gabriel's tenure. I won't say career in Cleveland because really no quarterback has a career in Cleveland anymore. So his tenure in Cleveland has started off really well. He was consistent. He was smart with the ball. He didn't really make a lot of mental mistakes, and he didn't. It didn't seem too big for him. But when you're a 6 year senior, um, in college, you kind of expect that or want to expect that. King Sean, excuse me, Quinshawn Junkins, running back, Cleveland. He's the moneymaker here. He's gonna be the one
Rookie.
who, yeah, absolute rookie, top fantasy drafts. That is one of those things that really, I mean, you think I'm trying to think of other than Ashton Genty, this would have been the guy to pick up because running back wise, he is right behind Genty on that. But Jerry Judy, he's been there. Isaiah Bond got worked into the system as well for Dylan, but Njoku also was there. But really, in this game, it's gonna be ground and pound and let the defense do what they need to do. Cleveland's defense is one of those defenses I would probably play for this game. You're facing Aaron Rodgers. You're facing a hobbled Jalen Warren, DK Metcalf. He's going to get double teamed. Calvin Austin is still maybe going to play. They're not really letting us know on that. And Johnny Smith is maybe a 1-2 reception a game. So if they can hold Chris Boswell to kicking those field goals, then Cleveland's just going to end up coming out with the win. But like I said, really, Judkins is the only absolute starter in this game for the Cleveland. On to Pittsburgh. They're getting off their bye week. So you expect Aaron to have worked with DK better, get that chemistry built, and then Jalen Warren, if he doesn't end up playing, then you have Kenneth Gainwell who ended up just showing out in London last couple weeks ago. So I expect them both to kind of be back and forth and turning it into a two man backfield. for this game. But like I said, it's gonna be a slugger. It's gonna be an absolute just dogfight in Pittsburgh for this Cleveland game. But we'll head to New Orleans next. Again.
I really want to forget the Sunday night football game that New England played, but I can't forget Stephon Diggs and just what he showed up against Buffalo this last week. Um, he's Julian Edelman good. Like I think he's already broken the record that Julian Edelman set as far as receiving yards just this year. I like year over year. Um I'm not sure how consistent he will be if you look at the history of Stephon Diggs, but he's good for next week, I think. Probably will do well against New Orleans. New Orleans did lose Antonio Gibson this week. Will affect their kickoff returns and depth at running back. But New Orleans is much better at defending the receptions than they are the run game, so I'm not really worried about New England here. On the Saints side, the Saints have three great tight ends playing for them. Juwan Johnson is ninth overall as far as tight ends go across the board. And then Rashid Shaheed had that 87-yard touchdown this week, and I expect him to have more touches this in week 6. Not to mention they're in New Orleans this week, and they had such a great homecoming last week and were able to pull out that win. And the Superdome fans are amazing. So if they can get the crowd into it, they're going to get those players to play better. And I expect us to have a pretty good game. Anything else,
Hope so.
Chris?
No, I think that sums up New Orleans. So let's head over to Vegas for another very quick game. Probably the two worst teams in the league. Tennessee versus Vegas. Granted, Tennessee did come out with the win last week, which I think shocked Tennessee even. So that is something that we get to look at. Cam Ward, Calvin Ridley. That is pretty much your 1-2 in Tennessee. If there is anybody to play on that team, that would maybe be Ridley. I still don't trust Cam Ward. He's just a rookie and he's playing like a rookie. So franchise leagues, keep him on your bench. He'll get better. We've seen him get better, but Calvin Ridley's just gonna kept getting fed the ball. As for Vegas, because they're facing the Titans, Ashton Genty is gonna be your number one back, your number one feed. Just keep giving him the ball. I don't care about anybody else. Geno Smith is playing horribly this year. The man keeps throwing the ball into the defender's arms. He keeps fumbling the ball. Geno Smith is not looking like the Geno Smith that we saw in Seattle the last few years. And that's got to be disappointing because they paid to get him in Las Vegas. So Brock Bowers kind of might be back. We're unsure. We're dealing with that whole questionable tag. So Ian Thomas and Michael Mayer. Michael Mayer is still or was in concussion protocol as of Monday. We are recording this on Tuesday, so we aren't sure if he's cleared that just yet. We should find out later in the week. But if he doesn't go, then Ian Thomas will be the guy to go in that. But again, I wouldn't play him. I would just play Ashton Genty if you have Ashton Genty. So honestly, I talked a lot more about this game than I thought. So I'm just going to send us over to another Pirate team in Tampa Bay.
You've said that about the last two teams. It's going to be quick, and you spent like an hour on it.
Well, I would like to talk.
I know. Oh, San Francisco at Tampa Bay. I expect this to be a good game. San Francisco, I cannot believe that they are 4-1. I don't know how they're doing it. They have so many injuries across the board, and yet they're able to find Christian McCaffrey every single time. Tongas is having a great game as well.
Yeah, that was
I'm
a
really
great
going to
call.
be sad when Kittle is back because I've just kind of grown to love him. Kittle's not expected to be back this week, though. He is off of IR effective this week, but they're expecting him to need one more week to make sure everything's working like it should. So definitely start Tongas if you have him on your teams. Same thing with Mac Jones. We're not sure if him or Brock Purdy's going to play. Just definitely watch your news feeds. Follow the Twitter account. Make sure that you're able to keep on top of San Francisco's injuries lists if you have any of those players on your teams. On the Tampa Bay side, I really feel like Baker Mayfield is starting to find his place in Tampa Bay and make the Buccaneers the team that they were a couple of years ago. Um, he is missing a a lot of talent he has at wide receiver and running back, including Mike Evans. But it seems like he's making the best of it with Rashad White and Amika and even Chris Godwin. All three of them are just sharing the ball. So good for Baker. Egbuka's great from a sleeper perspective. You want to hang on to him because I can just see him becoming the star that he's looking like he's going to be. Bucks are at home, meaning that San Francisco has to travel across 2 time zones to get home three time zones. Yeah, it's 2 from me. It's 3. Yeah. Okay. Um but they're also coming off of a mini buy, so it's probably not going to be that big of a deal for them. Um yeah, I think that everybody is should be watching this game because it's going to be an amazing game to watch and a good a good test for both of these teams. Chris, you want to talk about Cincinnati?
Sure, absolutely.
Who's going to play quarterback?
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a trade. Um, Cincinnati decided that they wanted to go and trade for the veteran Joe Flacco. I understand this, but it's confusing. But one thing's for sure, you should not be starting Joe Flacco. You should not be starting Jake Browning. If you're at that problem, if you have that problem because you have DJ Stroud or Carson Wentz as your quarterback, and they're on the bye week, wait till the sleeper picks here, and we'll show you who you should go ahead and pick up. But that doesn't mean that we don't have other people to talk about. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. Jamar Chase actually showed out last week pretty good. He showed us exactly why he's Jamar Chase. And T. Higgins even had a touchdown. So we're still seeing some production, but it's not elite production. Unfortunately, I don't think you're going to have any production against Green Bay, who is coming off that bye week, who's licking their chops, who is going to actually just run through them. And so, good week for Jordan Love to play, good week for Josh Jacobs to play, Matthew Golden, Romeo Dobbs, Tucker McCraft, even Brandon McManus is going to have a good game. So, all Green Bay this week, not so much on Cincinnati, and maybe we'll see Cincinnati trade for somebody else. But that's all I got for the game in Green Bay. How about we go ahead and head to Kansas City?
Sunday night football.
Game of the week.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Well, I'm going to pick the Tampa Bay game, but you can pick this one. I just don't see anything from Kansas City. I feel like the first 3 quarters of the game is like sleep through it. And then in the last 5 minutes, is Kansas City going to actually connect and not throw the ball all over the place? Or are they actually going to show up like the team they were in years past? I don't know what's wrong with Kansas City. I think that just they've lost that connection that they used to have, or Mahomes expects for Kelsey to be everywhere, and Kelsey has decided that he's going to play his own game over here instead. I don't see it on the Kansas City side. On the Detroit side, both Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery are consistently having touchdowns every single game over the last 14 games. So that is last year as well. They just are are players to watch and players to have on your team if you need that consistency. We also have Amron Ray St. Brown on the Detroit Lions. He already is halfway to his last year's career season. Wait, last year's career high of 12 touchdowns. Already halfway there. So I expect him to blow that record away as well. But yeah, I think Detroit is going to obviously be the better team here, unless Kansas City figures it out. They're at home again. I just don't see it.
Completely understand. Sunday Night Football, they've all been really good, except for last week.
I was about to say they had Monday Night Football last week.
But the Bills of Buffalo versus the Atlanta
Had Sunday Night
Falcons
Football last
on,
week.
yeah, they had Sunday Night Football last week. They're Monday Night Football this week. Buffalo's getting all of their primetime games out of the way early, it looks like. I will be at this game. I will be able to tell you how awesome or how horrible the Buffalo Bills and Atlanta Falcons are going to look.
And or Megan's doing it by herself next week.
I mean, I should be there, hopefully. We'll see. If Buffalo loses, I might be sad. But anyway, on to the game. The biggest concern that I have here is the Buffalo Bills running defense against Bijan Robinson. I'm not really worried about Michael Penix. I'm not really worried about Drake London. Not really worried about Kyle Pitts. I'm worried about Bijan Robinson. Second year running back, rookie of the year last year, or should have been rookie of the year last year. He can go ahead and take over a game. And if the Buffalo Bills defense can't stop him, then it's going to just be a slugfest back and forth. Josh Allen had his worst game in the last 2 years, I would say. Last year or last week. Having the fumble, throwing 2 picks, just making bad mental mistakes. It's not what we see from Josh, so I don't think we're going to have a bad game out of Josh again. And James Cook is going to run all over him. So the highlight from last week was Dalton Kincaid. First time in his career, went over 100 yards. So he
and
was.
Not only third and Kincaid.
Say again?
Not only third and Kincaid. He was all over the place.
Yes, he was all over the place, and he was going deep. It was not just dink and dunks. It was going around. He was across the middle. He was up the seam. He was in from the backfield. Had his penalties here and there, but again, he was 6 for 6 and over 100 yards plus a touchdown. So if you have him now, just start watching him. I said at the beginning of the year that Dalton Kincaid, these year 3 guys in Buffalo, they really start to come on in year 3. So go ahead and keep an eye on them. This might also be one of those things where if you're in a bind, could be good trade bait. Just keep that in your mind. But this, honestly, Buffalo should win this game. But the way that they've been playing lately, it's going to probably be a slugfest unless they can stop Bijan Robinson. But that's all I have to say about the Bills game. I'll let you know how it was when I get there and how the wings are down there. Let's go to Washington for the second Monday Night Football game.
Chicago was coming off of a bye week. It was an early bye week, and they didn't have a lot of injuries that they needed to recover from. So hopefully they got a lot of good practicing taken care of, and they'll need it against Washington. Jaden Daniels came back last week. Doesn't look like he's suffering from any rust from being gone. I also have Terry McLaurin, who's marked as questionable but expected to go. If he is not in and Chris Moore is taking over, Deebo Samuel has really been doing amazing while he's been gone. So we expect to see good things from Washington. Hopefully Chicago can show up this week. They have a lot of really good receivers. And Caleb Williams is probably the best quarterback they've had in a long time. We also have Rome Odunze, who has been really well performing over the course of the last 4 weeks, if we don't count last week. So yeah, I expect Chicago to do really well against Washington, and Washington to start getting their team back together now that their injuries are coming to an end.
It's a really good slate of games this week. Some really fun football to watch. So be sure to go ahead and catch what you can. If you have Red Zone, catch it there. You'll have fantasy highlights all throughout, and of course, keep checking in. But when we come back, we'll go ahead and talk about our sleepers, our traps, and our locks for this next week, and even go ahead and talk about a few things that we'd like to talk about in the weeks to come. So we'll see you in a minute. Make sure to like and subscribe now.
Wow, that was a lot of information. I can't believe we're only at week 6. But Chris, let's talk about the sleepers, traps, and locks.
So our sleepers this week, Trevor Lawrence, after such a phenomenal week last week, I think he's going to have probably another breakout game, riding high on all of his confidence and against the Seattle defense that doesn't usually let people get out of hand, but Sam Darnold likes to be in shootouts. So expect this to be kind of a shootout game. Judkins, Megan, you want to talk about him?
Yeah, he had an amazing game this last week. Kind of has been pretty quiet as far as what he's producing at week over week. Rookie player, but he made a name for himself this week, so I definitely have him as a sleeper on my list. Pickens, Chris?
Yeah. Pickens is, like we said during the matchups, he's taken over for CeeDee Lamb and he's not skipped a beat. So, again, I just expect him to go ahead and probably take a little bit more off of Jake Ferguson and have probably be the leading receiver this week. Anybody else on this list, Meg, you want to talk about?
Nope.
All right. Let's go ahead and hit the traps.
Kyler Murray.
Since I'm so bad at this, I will let you take it.
Traps. Well, being that I actually contributed to this list, I'll take at least some of them. Kyler Murray might have gotten injured last week. Not really playing the way that we expected him to play. Definitely not playing at the same production level that the other quarterbacks in the league are. Try to stay away from him, at least this week. Derrick Henry, same thing. That man is a powerhouse, and for whatever reason, he's not able to produce what we've seen him in years past. Hopefully he figures it out, but I'm happy with him on the losing end of the AFC right now. Devontae Adams, the only reason he is here is because the defenses of the opposing teams, like I said before, have figured him out. And he's just not getting the touches that he could. He might show up in weeks to come, but for right now, he's definitely somebody to avoid putting in. Mason Taylor, I don't like him as a trap. That was you, Chris.
The biggest thing with Mason Taylor is it's the international game. Rookie tight end. Yeah, so rookie tight end with Justin Fields against the number one defense. I just don't think it's he has that upward trend that right now that a lot of people are riding, and I think that this is a spot where he's going to level out or he's just going to fall off and take a step back while he's over there. Joey Sly, the guy is missing field goals every single week, and lack of consistency is not what I want in a kicker. And for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we kind of talked about it a little bit during the matchups with San Francisco and Christian McCaffrey. We don't like the defenses that have to face him right now. So that's kind of the thought process there. What about those locks, Meg?
Matt Stafford having an amazing year. Definitely was not expecting him to be as great as he's been doing. So we have him at the quarterback lock for this week, because we expect him to continuously be consistent. Devon Achane, Miami doesn't have anybody else, so he's a good lock here. Puka Nacua, we talked about him during the matchups, just the best receiver that we've seen this year so far. Trey McBride, Cameron Dicker, Green Bay Packers. Anybody you want to talk about there, Chris?
I mean, Trey McBride, we haven't seen him pop out or have his breakout. But if Kyler Murray is injured, then that backup quarterback is going to need somebody to throw to. And with Harrison Jr. being probably double covered the entire time, McBride is always a good outlet to have. Cameron Dicker, I mean, he's a kicker. He's going to be needed, and that's who you're going to want. And the Packers have a fantastic matchup. That's going to be our locks for the week. Don't forget, guys, we have, with the bye weeks, we're getting into trades, that trade season. We only have a month left for the trade deadline. Like we talked about earlier with the Joe Flacco trade, trades are going to start affecting not only the NFL, but they're also going to be affecting the fantasy football. So in the future, we're going to go ahead and talk about it a little bit. But be sure to go ahead and check the Twitter account, the X account, come back, check the comments if there's any updates in the thing, and we'll go ahead
As
and be here.
always,
No, I was just
don't
saying
forget to like and
Oh, yeah.
you're gonna yeah, but
Go
I
ahead.
wanted
Yep. Megan, what would you like to say?
don't forget to like and subscribe our channel.
Oh, yeah, there it is. And don't forget, nobody circles the wagons. This has been a
Sixty
great,
W.
yeah, this has been a great ending. We'll see you next week, guys. Yeah.